continue that policy, the average rent in Dublin 15, as elsewhere, is about €1,300 for a family-type house, €1,400 for anything bigger. And so you would be putting €1,000 a month into housing families in such situations. Money you could be using to build homes and getting then rental back. And how anyone could say that this makes any economic sense is beyond me. The only thing that it makes sense is that it's more capitulation to the landlords of this country that have close connections with Fine Gael and now it would seem with Labour. And I would just finish by saying that you announced today, or your colleague Joan Burton announced today, that they'd increase the rent payments on a case-by-case basis, so people still have to go begging to their local CWO, without introducing rent controls at the same time. So you seem to be happy to keep shoveling money in the direction of these private landlords that could be used to actually build homes. I have to say now, I've seen it all. Like the Labour Party, you'll have absolutely nobody sitting over there after the next election, because the difference between previous times when you could lick your wounds and go out of coalition for a while and then slither back in again is there's now competition on the left from others. And you really seem to have learnt nothing from the message delivered by the electorate.
Thank you, Minister.
I find the language used by Deputy Coppinger particularly objectionable, but anyway, I'll deal with the issues. I have no intentions of licking any wounds or slithering anywhere, Deputy Coppinger, so I hope that you might use a bit more understanding language in relation to what we do in here. This is a serious forum where we make law. Well, maybe, maybe the word arrogant is often used, but I would suggest that you be careful. You're a new deputy, and I wouldn't use that kind of language if I were you. Can I just say, first of all, in relation to this amendment, can I read what it is? Because I think there's a total overreaction to what is actually in the legislation. What Deputy Cowan and Deputy O'Farrell and Deputy Ellis are seeking to do is to change the wording as follows. The section reads, the provision of social assistance under this part shall be deemed to be an appropriate form of social housing support for a household that is determined by a housing authority under the said section 20 to be qualified for such support. And what you're seeking to do is to say that it wouldn't be an appropriate form of social housing support. Now, I'm not saying that this is a permanent solution to people's housing issues. Let's not put into this legislation what is not in it. I'm not either saying that this bill is somehow or other going to provide a whole pile of social houses for people. That we're suddenly going to build houses out of this piece of legislation. We're not. There is an issue of supply, and I've acknowledged that, and I've talked in the past in various debates in here about how we might address supply. And this bill is not the answer to all the housing issues that are out there. Also, the cases that many people have described in here, they're under the current rent supplement scheme. These are people who are at risk of being kicked out of their houses because of the current rent supplement scheme, which has developed, as many of you have rightly said, into a long-term so-called solution to people's problems. There will still be a short-term rent supplement scheme, which is what rent supplement should be about under the Department of Social Protection, for people who find themselves in urgent situations. But what this is an attempt to do is to give some kind of security to people who are on so-called short-term rent supplement schemes, which in fact they've been in for years, and to actually allow them, for example, to go back to work. And when we did have second stage of the debate here, we had a reasonable discussion around what the purpose of this legislation is about, but it is not, it is not meant to be the only long-term solution to anybody's housing problem. In fact, the word permanent is not used anywhere.